The first bell was not an invitation. It was a declaration of war. Both men came out swinging with the recklessness of fighters who understood that survival hinged on brutality. Uppercuts shook shoulders. Hooks snapped jaws. The ring became a blood-stained battlefield where every second threatened to be the last. One moment, Tyson thundered forward. The next, Ruddock hammered him with a brutal uppercut that would have folded lesser men in half. Tyson answered it with a grin, beckoning Ruddock to strike again, as if pain only sharpened him. But even beasts grow tired, and Ruddock began to crumble under the relentless pressure of Tyson's unrestrained violence. Mike found his rhythm, stalking, slipping, ripping punches with the precision of a surgeon and the malice of an executioner. A crushing left sent Razor collapsing into the canvas. His earlier words, "It is not dead, it doesn't count," echoing back at him with cruel irony. Ruddock rose only to take more punishment, until finally the referee stepped in, the only man alive who could keep Tyson from finishing what he started. Razor Ruddock learned the hard way that challenging Tyson's crown was one thing, but disrespecting him was something else entirely. But perhaps no opponent stirred Tyson's fury as deeply, as personally, or as permanently as the man who had once tormented his childhood hero. Larry Holmes wasn't just another heavyweight. He was the man who humiliated the legendary Muhammad Ali during the twilight of Ali's career, when age and illness had already begun dimming the flame of the greatest who ever lived. Holmes didn't just beat Ali. He mocked him, boasted about breaking him, declared himself the rightful king who exposed a fading legend. For 14-year-old Mike Tyson, who worshipped Ali the way other kids idolize superheroes, Holmes's display wasn't just cruel, it was unforgivable. Tyson swore that one day, when he grew into the man he was destined to become, he would avenge Ali. Years later, the moment arrived. Holmes, arrogant as ever, belittled Tyson, claiming he belonged in the history books, while Mike was nothing more than a footnote. He said Tyson couldn't carry his jockstrap. And then, moments before the fight began, Muhammad Ali entered the ring, leaned close to Mike, and whispered, "Get him for me." That was all Tyson needed. When the bell rang, Holmes tried to jab, tried to move, tried to rely on the techniques that had once made him champion. But Tyson was not the fading Ali he had bullied. Tyson was a storm, decades of rage compressed into compact hooks and savage uppercuts. Holmes stumbled, buckled, tried to hold on, but Tyson battered him with an intensity that bordered on supernatural. A devastating right hand crumpled Holmes to the floor. He rose, dazed and trembling, only to be smashed down again by another brutal combination. The crowd watched a man who once mocked legends crumble into dust beneath the fists of the heir to the throne. Holmes got up one final time, staggering blindly, but Tyson was already coming. A single monstrous right hand tore through him like lightning splitting a tree. Holmes collapsed, beaten, finished, the referee waving it off. In that moment, Mike Tyson didn't just win. He avenged Muhammad Ali. And the world understood that no insult to Tyson's idols went unanswered. But the list of foolish men was far from over. Andrew Golota was one of the dirtiest fighters ever to lace a pair of gloves, infamous for low blows, illegal shots, and the kind of dishonorable tactics that made fans hiss whenever his name was spoken. So when he was matched with Tyson at the dawn of the new millennium, the boxing world expected chaos. Yet even Golota, with all his grimy tricks, couldn't hide his fear. Tyson walked toward him with the cold stare of a predator, and Golota's confidence began to melt before the fight even began. When the bell rang, Tyson erupted with violent precision. Golota tried to clinch, tried to fire illegal shots, tried every trick he had ever used to survive. But each time he attempted something dirty, Tyson responded with something devastating. Punches slammed against Golota's skull like mallets hitting stone. His face buckled. His eyes widened. His spirit collapsed. Tyson dropped him brutally with a right hand that nearly folded the man in half. Golota survived a round, but not the truth. When the second round was about to begin, the so-called warrior refused to stand, refused to fight, refused to continue. The arena erupted in boos as a coward who once used every dirty trick imaginable simply quit on a stool, beaten not just physically but spiritually. And then came Trevor Berbick, the man who held the heavyweight championship, the man who believed his size, his experience, his ruthless fighting style would humble Mike Tyson. Berbick was confident, too confident. He smirked, taunted, and strutted into the ring as if Tyson were just another challenger. But Berbick didn't understand that Tyson wasn't stepping into that ring for a paycheck. This was the moment he had dreamed about since childhood, the chance to become the youngest heavyweight champion in history. From the opening seconds, Tyson unleashed a surgical beating. Berbick swung wild, desperate, tried to show he was a dominant man. But Tyson slipped effortlessly beneath the shots, countering with explosive hooks that rattled Berbick to his core. The champion's bravado dimmed with every punch. Tyson hammered him with combinations so violent that Berbick stumbled like a man trying to stand in a hurricane. A single left hook sent him sprawling. Berbick rose, legs wobbling, only to be smashed again by another thunderous punch that sent him stumbling across the ring like a drunk trying to outrun judgment. He fell, tried to rise, fell again, tried to stand, fell once more, the cruel dance of a man who had no idea how utterly outmatched he was. When the referee finally counted him out, Tyson stood as the youngest heavyweight champion ever, the crown resting on the head of the most fearsome warrior the sport had ever seen. And then there was Carl Williams, the man whose ego outweighed even his massive frame. Williams bragged that he had once beaten up a teenage Tyson in sparring, and therefore believed he was a true uncrowned king, the rightful heir to the throne. But once the bell rang, Williams learned the difference between sparring with a kid and fighting a legend. Tyson slipped past a jab, stepped inside, and detonated a left hook so violent it erased whatever dreams Williams had of walking out with his pride intact. In seconds, the giant collapsed, and the referee waved it off. The fight ended so quickly that fans barely had time to blink. Frank Bruno came next, another towering figure, another man who swore he would knock Tyson out. He boasted, mocked, and assured the world that he would rock Tyson to sleep. But once the clash began, the truth became clear. Tyson tore into him with relentless savagery, dropped him, battered him, and kept coming even when Bruno somehow found the strength to fight back. But in the fifth round, Tyson crushed him once and for all, ending the fight and silencing yet another mouth that dared to speak against him. Fight after fight, insult after insult, Tyson punished every man who dared to disrespect him. The ring became a place of reckoning, an arena where arrogance dissolved, where bravado shattered, where loud mouths were broken by quiet violence. Tyson didn't need to talk. He didn't need to prove anything with words. His fists spoke the truth, and over the years that truth echoed across generations. They always thought they knew what they were walking into. They believed Mike Tyson was just another man with gloves, just another opponent who would snarl, throw a few hooks, and then eventually allow them to escape the ring with a few paychecks and a few stories. But those who underestimated him, those cocky rats who dared to spit in the face of the most violent force the heavyweight division had ever seen, quickly learned that insulting Iron Mike Tyson wasn't bravado. It wasn't gamesmanship. It wasn't hype. It was a death wish. And once the bell rang, there was no prayer, no referee, and no earthly power strong enough to save them. Peter McNeely was one of the loudest. Even after Tyson had spent years behind the unforgiving steel bars of prison, McNeely puffed his chest like a man who believed rust could spread through Mike the way it would spread through weaker fighters. "Watch me kick Tyson's ass," he barked with the confidence of someone who didn't realize he was already walking into a hurricane. And when that bell rang, the world understood that McNeely's fate had been sealed the moment he opened his mouth. Tyson stepped forward, uncoiling like a panther, his fists exploding with a kind of savagery that felt less like punches and more like divine retribution. Within seconds, McNeely hit the floor and still tried to rise, still clung to that fan belief that hard and homegrown bravado could match the pure physics of Mike Tyson's violence. But Tyson wasn't done. A second eruption sent McNeely stumbling, his legs turning liquid, his vision flickering, and the referee forced to intervene as the so-called hurricane evaporated into nothing more than a summer breeze. Tyson walked away with another victory, proving prison hadn't softened him. It had sharpened him like iron dragged across stone. But McNeely was only one of many foolish men who failed to understand that disrespecting Mike Tyson was the same as signing your own eulogy. Long before Tyson returned from prison, there was Donovan Razor Ruddock, a beast of abnormal proportions, a monster molded from muscle and menace. In the golden era of heavyweights, when predators circled every inch of the ring, Ruddock stood alone as the one man who dared to defy Tyson openly. He was strong. He was huge. And unlike most, he truly believed he was a chosen heir to the throne Tyson temporarily lost after the stunning defeat to Buster Douglas. Ruddock didn't hide behind polite interviews or play the respectful contender. He spat venom, bragged boldly, and promised the world Tyson would go to sleep again. Ruddock even went so far as to say that if Tyson didn't die in the ring, the victory wouldn't count. The audacity, the feverish arrogance. It was gasoline on a fire that had been burning inside Tyson ever since the fall from his first reign. When the two giants stepped into the arena, the very air crackled with electricity, as if the universe itself sensed a storm about to erupt.